everybody! Welcome back to the channel! I'm your gracious host, Frank here on American Eagle Rises. What's going on? We got a Saturday. Wow, guys, I did a lot of stuff. I feel good, but man, I feel tired. So, man, this bicep here. Oh, is it bigger now? Is it bigger? Oh yeah, it is a little bigger. Oh my god. Let's see how much bigger it is. Yeah, that one looks bigger. Which is odd because my right arm is stronger and my left isn't. But my right is like kind of shaky. I'm actually left-handed. But with left, it's more like precision. Like I can hold it but right, it's strong. Yeah. But why is that the case? Why is Frank's arm like big? Well, yeah, we'll get into it. How about? Yeah, we got a lot of sun too. We get a lot. Yeah. You're like, hey, come on, guys. Yeah, sorry. It's Saturday, guys. Man, I hope after this I sleep well. I'm a little concerned that tomorrow I might be sore. Let's hope we're not too sore. So, I didn't see anything super crazy for America First News. Looked like they kept trying to float the same crap. The list, Maxwell House, decaf, not decaf. I don't know, just hearing that, I want ice cream all of a sudden. I just... Sorry, I'm a squirrel. Yeah, so earlier in the morning, I went for just an hour walk, and it's still gorgeous outside, and the temperature's not that bad. I was outside most of the day. I didn't think all this stuff would take that long. But I kind of knew I wouldn't get everything done, so I was just like, all right, do this, do that. A couple of things I want to get done, and we got those done. So I just did a little de-weeding. I kind of wait till they get a little long, so I can just kind of pull them from the bottom and just roots and all. And they're kind of around the house where there's actually like hostas and some other things there. And because it's got, there's like weed block. It's like, why is it? I think the weed block's here, and then the mulch, and it grows, but it doesn't go into the... So I think that's why it's easy to pull it out. Anyway, because like yesterday, I spent like 3+ hours outside working the lawn, cutting it and all that, trimming it and edging it, and yeah, it looks really much better now. It looks really nice now, actually. And then I had a couple of dead limbs I noticed yesterday. I was like, oh, let's, they weren't massive, maybe, they were less than, I think the biggest one was like 3 inches. And it's actually ironic. I have like this Black & Decker, it's a smaller, it's like a Sawzall basically, just a cutoff. And it's actually pretty small, and then, I think it's got like a 6-inch blade. So I just use that to cut these limbs, and then I have the, what's that, Spectre side or something. You just, when you prune it, you spray it on, and it's like black. It works really, I find that it works pretty good. I do that, I try to do that every time, even when I'm doing the lopping. But yeah, there was a couple of dead branches that were kind of big. So we yanked those out. I don't really do my biggest pruning until a little later in the year, but hey, at least now you can tell, I wanted to at least get the dead ones out, because you can kind of tell, once the leaves go down, you're just like, is it? You don't want to cut. That's another thing, guys. You don't want to prune too much of a tree or a bush, unless you want it dead, of course. You can do that. I think they say like 1/3, and I try to kind of keep it at the bottom, and then pretty much anything that's like, if it's going up, I just kind of let it go, right? And then if it's kind of like coming down, I cut that. But I tried to let it grow for a couple of years, and then kind of maybe the lower branches I cut. So then when it grows up, those lower ones are higher, so you don't have to worry about them. Because if you don't cut those lower ones, obviously they'll, years later they'll be like right there. But if you kind of cut it at least the tree, oh, we got it lagging again. So also during that time frame, I hadn't done this before, but one of those things you just totally forget. And I think I was supposed to do it last year, and I totally forgot about it. But we emptied the hot water heater, and I thought it was gonna be like nasty because I've been here almost 10 years, and yeah, I never did it. So I was like, all right. So I connected a garden hose, actually 2 of them, because I wasn't sure it was gonna be really nasty. So I was trying to send it outside. Well, and then I actually like flushed it, meaning like I had it on, I was trying to drain it. I just kept the cold water on, flush it all out, and then it looked pretty clean. I was like, it doesn't look that bad. So maybe just that, the beginning was the kind of bad, but I was downstairs when I opened that valve, and then I turned off the cold water. And then I just let the tank just drain out. It was like so clean, I just let it go into the sump. And then it completely bone dry. And then I had to get her back going. And then I'm trying to, the faucet that I have in the kitchen. It's one of those. It's not 2 knobs. So it's kind of like in the middle, and it's like water comes like. I'm like, oh yeah. So I turn it all the way to cold because it's just all a bunch of air, and the tank is still filling up, right? And then not only has it got to fill up with water, but then it's got to heat up. So I don't know. That's probably going to take and then probably another hour. It's been on for maybe about an hour. I think it's been filling up. And then I tried. Let's see, what else? What other things? There was some other junk I put in the side of the road. I think I had like a crank hose reel. It's like an auger. Is it an auger? No, auger. But it ratchets kind of back and forth, so you don't have to feed it manually, right? You just crank it, and it kind of winds it perfectly. But that thing was leaking. I've had it for, I don't know. Excuse me here. I think I've had it for, it's been over 20 years, so. Hey, even though it was plastic, it had a good life here, so we got our money out of it. But unfortunately, it's it's plastic, and anyway, it's toast. Couldn't save it. And what else did we do? Oh yeah, we started I had another hose reel on the side of the house, and this is part of why my arm, guys, man, this god dang, it hurts just. Not like hurt, but it's like, man, it's... This one's kind of there too. No, I got the brick, right? So I got to drill these damn holes. Well, I can't use the SLS plus rotary hammer drill. You kind of need it started, right? I had the smaller one, but I didn't. I thought I had the lead in enough, but when I took and that hole was kind of close to the edge of that brick, so it kind of chipped it off. So I'm there with my other hammer drill, my normal Ryobi brushless. And that's just holding the damn, not only the trigger, but holding it, right? Yeah, guys, it feels, and it's funny too, because even when I've done like a bicep workout, like I've never had them. So these are fatigued, meaning like, it wasn't like the tensile strength. It's just you held it there. Yeah, even parts of my forearm, like this one here, it's like right. Anyway, we'll see how good we go. Tomorrow we might be, we might. But I did work yesterday, so I was worried about today. But then after I came back from the walk, I felt fine. So Sorry, blah, 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 blah. Frank kept going on here. Oh, but hey, Mr. Homefront, how you doing? Yeah, oh yeah, Ben, I'm not ignoring you. But Homefront put on, a comment about, and maybe I'll sprinkle it in over time because I might just kind of just this conversation might be 10 hours long. I don't think you want to listen to it. Live stream. Actually, we got Raymond's on there. I was listening to him when I was outside working, and then I brought it in and had my dinner. But problem solving, yeah, I can actually speak to a point where it's not it's nothing proprietary, nothing against GM or anything like that. So I've been a mechanical engineer. Depends on how you want to measure it. Definitely since January 2000 or January 1997. Jeez, that's crazy, isn't it? That's when I actually got my first gig as a design release engineer. For Chrysler at the time, it was Jeep truck, so I was working on the Jeep Cherokees and the Wranglers and the Grand Cherokees at the time, and those were kind of relatively new. I think like 5 years. I think, but before that, I spent a couple of years in co-op. So when I was getting my degree in mechanical engineering, I'm like, hey man, I need money because I wasn't with my parents or anything like that, and a lot of the people that were getting jobs at the time, they were saying, hey, having a co-op thing on your resume when you get your first job, it kind of helps. So I was like, hey man, we can do two things here. Hey, while we're doing it, maybe we learn something different. And yeah, definitely did. So that was more hands-on, more like depending upon what was required at the time. I did all sorts of crazy, when you're an intern, it's basically an intern type of thing. They basically give you all the stuff that nobody wants to do. And I was there with a couple other guys. They were all co-ops as well. They were all like pretty much in the same. They were all different universities. I think one was like Lawrence Tech. Some was I think one was in Oakland. Another one. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. There was two in particular I hung out all the time. And we all did it for basically the same reasons. We all needed money. But I got to do more hands-on. So when we were doing testing for certain pumps, so I had to like use the mill, use the lathe, bandsaw, like pretty much anything machine, any type of machine tool. So I did have a CNC, but didn't really use that to its full potential. But I did have to use it for a couple of cuts that were a little more precise. But there was someone else that was more on it, so it was more like, all right, we need to do this, and he wasn't there, and it's like, all right, well, this isn't that sophisticated. But he did more of the sophisticated stuff. But yeah, so we had to make special things, or like the damn test rig, there'd be this big test rig. There's like dyno, and some damn thing would break, and you're like, oh shit. Because back then, like no one, at least like when I had these jobs, and like I don't know, this is I don't know, whatever. You may or may not like Gen X, but this is how at least I think Gen X was. Because this is how I was, so I don't know. I apply it to all my, but a lot of the people that I at least hung out with, and either, they weren't mechanical engineering degree, but maybe they were working on cars with me. Where we were just like, hey man, what the hell? Like no one checked up on us to make sure anything was working. They didn't tell us what to do. They just said, here's the parts, get it done, and then they would just run away type of thing. That's Gen X life right there. You're told to do something, and then like your parents, everyone disappears, and you're there just to figure it out on your own. So a lot of my problem solving skills is kind of who I am as a person, because that's how a lot of Gen X people, or at least the ones that I consider good Gen X people, were very resourceful. They were never told not only what to do or how to do it. It was basically just like, there's the end in sight. You know, sky's the limit. Do what you need to do, and we just process and error, or trial and error sometimes. Best guesses, more of an educated guess. But yeah, when I was doing that co-op job, it was just like every day was different. But it was fun. I liked it a lot. I was like, I think when I first started, I think I just turned 21 or something like that. And it's kind of funny because that actually was like it's almost funny, like that perspective is kind of followed me my whole career. And I guess that's kind of like where I built my own niche. But I've noticed, and I'm not more, even though I'm very mathematically, and I know the formula, or not just the formulas, but what the formulas mean, right? Because that's the key. I had some very good instructors throughout my actual education that actually they didn't want you to regurgitate the equation. They didn't. No, and I'm glad I had this. To be honest, this is probably, I call it the last of the old way of not just learning, but I think learning how engineers used to learn. Because I'm more like a why person, so I have to know why. But so every session was always about, like, it wasn't like, here's the formula. It was, here's a principle that we know. How can we derive this? And then each section we kept building on that. So each time it was, all right, well, now we know this. How can, but so that's just to go to say that even though I can be good at that, what I have learned, not just throughout my life, but especially when it comes to engineering, I guess people would call it intuitive. From the perspective of I've had that book smart and I know what that is, but I'm more of a touchy-feely and I'm more visual. So for me, words kind of get in the way. So I'm more of, I can see an equation and I can understand all that means. It's almost like a language in of itself. And I'm more like a chart or a graph person, because if I can see a chart, if you see this, I call it parabolic, right? I'll probably know what equation that is. Is it an x squared function, right? Or is it an x cubed function? Sinusoidal, that type of thing. So, and I believe that kind of comes with, again, maybe not a combination, but I can't say the word. Culmination, that's it. Culmination of the experiences that I've had. So, like especially now, I've been at GM, 12, 13 years. It's quite ironic, quite funny that, you don't really use most of the stuff that you had in college. Although it's funny, because I kind of do. But not all the time. That's the whole other thing, too. But a lot of, like, especially in automotive engineering, it's actually understanding the principle, not necessarily what everybody else thinks the principle is. And a lot of the processes that they have, even though they worked back then, a lot of these processes that they came up with were more trial and error, and it was more like they documented everything. So some of the things that they've had, it's just like, yeah, it worked, and it worked perfectly for 50 plus years. Now no one knows. It's like the people that left, right? They knew what it was, and then no one figured out what that was. But like, oh, okay, just keep doing this because it works. But I've noticed a lot of people, not just there, but pretty much everywhere, they forget the high level, like what, I call it F equals MA. Like, if you ask me, that's why it's like the pinnacle, like the one of the first equations that you learn in physics. right? Because of force, right? And you can just keep adding from there, and then there's an energy balance thing. But because I'm in more of the mechanically, the structural components, we got to take your little, there's all these modules. I'm just using my phone as an example, right? And we got to attach them somehow, right? And depending upon the module, there's different requirements. Like some have like a certain modal frequency, which means like when it vibrates. So it's kind of like a natural frequency or resonance. So if you're at a certain level, right, the input, the electrical signals, you can have EMF, right? That's a electromagnetic field, or EMC. That's electromagnetic compliance. But you can have a signal, but then if there's any type of disturbance in there, right, it can create a field. And then you have like what they call signal versus noise, right? So you have a input coming in, and right. So but that's just to say that, right? You have a mass, right? And then we don't want it to move around, right? So we know we know that it's a static equation, right? But sometimes I'm more visual, right? I'll be like, all right, well, we want a certain pattern, right? Because you have like a center of gravity, right? The center of gravity may not be the center of the part. Yeah, I know. Most things are, but you'd be surprised. Like, yeah, remember those old school TVs, right? Where it was always heavy in the back, right? It's a perfect example where, right, the back, so you'd want to hold it, right? But yeah, like that's why, like when I'm designing something or coming up with a solution, like when I'm like, hey Frank, we gotta put it here, oh my God, we have no room. How are we gonna do it, right? So again, it's almost like a craftsman, right? And again, I probably learned some of this from my dad, because my dad was man. If he would have applied himself, he actually went to college. He probably could have done so much, but hey, maybe he does that in another life or something. But I kind of picked up that on him as well. But because he would just kind of be like, it feels like eyeballing, right? But he'd be damn close. I mean, it's just like, what the hell? And it wasn't necessarily experience. It's just like you get an eye for it. So, like at General Motors, I get thrown at. I do my best work. I call it an utter chaos. For a multitude of reasons, because I guess I'm an adrenaline junkie of all things. Meaning, like I can't have monotony. It absolutely drives me nuts. Like, it's the same procedure day in, day out. It's so not mind-numbing, right? But I'm also like that person that's like, you see a fire and you just, like, I'm that guy, I gotta go. It's like you don't even think, you go, you react, it's like, there's people that are like, oh my God, like I'd be going a different way, right? You just, it's hard to describe that. I don't want to say it's a feeling, but it's more like a sixth sense type of thing. But that's only to say where it's like, they don't know. It's like all they know is they have this huge problem, but there's nothing's defined. And I'm like, ooh. Because part of my brain is, and again, this is why I'm still here at General Motors, because I probably would thrive more in a smaller company, maybe more intimate, because my personality is I hate huge bureaucracy companies. I mean, what's more bureaucracy than General Motors, right? The government itself, right? Like, but yeah, there are times, and again, luckily I'm in the advanced area. I will get like, oh my God, my video's already, sorry home front. I'm probably all over the damn map, but, and this is kind of a flavor. Like, I'm talking, and I'm scatterbrained. Do you think most engineers are that? No. But what's really ironic is, like, I don't want to say I use both parts of the brain. It's just like my personality kind of comes from one. And as I'm doing one, the other one's kind of in the background doing shit. But it almost never says anything at any given time. But it's back there, it's cranking away. But that's just to say, when I say utter chaos, and I have to have another thing too. So GM loves this, like, I don't know, we don't know what this damn problem is. We just know it's this electrical problem. This is what's going on at the vehicle level. We have no idea if it's this or that or anything. And let's give it to Frank. And it's utter chaos. We don't know what to do, so Frank will figure it out, right? Like that. Right, and then I have what I call more full authority on Tom. Like, I don't need anyone telling me how to do my job. Period. It's just like, dude, what is the goal? Just tell me the goal. That's it. Tell me the end. Everything in between, I'll figure it out. Like, a lot of people need to be told what to do. No. The only thing when I say told to do is like, no. What is it that you want me to do? That's it. Don't tell me anything else. Just, it's like better. It's better that I don't know, right? Because I'm going to figure out, because to be honest, when I have that clean slate, I'll find a way that no one else even thought of, right? That's why I call it this intuitive thing. And again, I have a hard time describing it, because it's just like, it's almost like it just poof. Like, I don't know if Tesla had it or not, but people were described like things just come to them. Now, they saw like formulas in their head. Like, I don't necessarily see that. Like, or seeing gears, that type of stuff. No, I just have this like sense, and I kind of know this. So I have probing. So I'm like, all right, I know this is what I know. I don't know this or that. And I'll make like, all right, well, if I do this, I'll know what, and if I get this result, that means I don't want to go that way. I want to go the opposite way, right? So I'll take small data points and then figure a direction and then start making course corrections. But yeah, but I need, like, I don't want anyone there telling me, oh no, you got to come in at this time and this, get out of the way. And I find that a lot of my designers that I work with, they actually like that. They actually, because the other thing that I do, I believe that people have not only hidden talents, but you don't need to coach them much. I mean, some people you do and you don't, but look, I know so many people, they're being underutilized, right? So when I get these crazy-ass projects, and I'm like, well, depending upon who people get assigned to me, or sometimes I may have that input, they feed off that. So I'm like, hey, here's the high level. I need you to, can you draft me something that kind of looks like this? I need to support this weight over here. And, we don't know what else is in the area because, we got to go in the math and see what other, whether components are actually there. It's actually kind of a pain in the ass to figure this shit out. But so that's where I don't give them, I don't give them a playbook. I'm just like, hey, you do, right? You do I'm not going to tell you how to do your job. In fact, I want you to figure out how you can do your job not only better, but smarter. And, and I give them the liberty as they're coming up with their portion of the puzzle. I'm like, hey, if you see something better, right, that I'm over here, and I'm like, you see something better, by all means, just do it. Like, I just give them, just do it. I was like, don't ask. And that's a whole other thing I tell people. And I'm like, hey, I go, if you really stuck, let me know. I'll come down here. I'm kind of like that guy that wants to be in the trenches with the soldiers, right? I'm like, like patting in the damn trench there with the guys, right? That's me. Like, get me in the front. I don't want to be back there. Those stupid generals that don't know what they're doing over there. They don't know what a goddamn rifle is, let alone, what an enemy is, right? But yeah, these people just, and they surprise me all the time, and I absolutely love it. And we feed off each other, but yeah, a little on the lengthy side. So we'll kind of maybe go more into that, but that's what I have found at General Motors is my niche, and it's almost like because I can kind of like do the I'll call it the crazy ass shit, right? A problem that they're just like, oh my god, and I'm they're the ones that have like the mini meltdown. I'm just like, calm down, But like, dude, it's like I like this. I don't want to say faster feast or famine. But I swear, when a big problem happens and everyone's like, now I will say I've been on programs where they've had a problem and they're like, and then I'm trying to like fix it and they're like, wait, freak, you can't do this, can't do that, can't do this, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to do my job. Like, you gotta follow this process. I'm like, but the process is not, it's not helping us. It's hurting us. It's taking longer, and it's not value add, right? But whatever, right? There's just, and I know I'm a bull in a china shop, right? Like that's a whole other thing. Like a lot of engineers, a lot of designers want to work with me because they're very, that they're the shy type, and I'm like the opposite. And I kind of, it's kind of funny, right? Like I should have been fired probably 20 different times at General Motors, but because I do what I do and I deliver, right? But it's like funny, like they'll ask me like, well, how did you do it? I'm like, I don't know. I just, right? It's like an artist. It's like an art. Like, how did you know you were gonna make this? Artist like, I don't know. I just, kept chiseling here, kept chiseling there. It's like, and when you merge the two together, but I also like that, personable thing, right? I believe in, sitting down with those people, but, and give them room. Like I always say, hey, just give them enough information, and then be like, all right, but, and then you got to follow up with them every once in a while, and then be like, hey, man, do you need any help? You stuck somewhere, right? Like, what's your status report? And you find out, oh, hey, this happened. Like, all right, and then they have a problem, and then you got to engage this other person over here, so I find that's how I'm suited, and that's what I'm best at. So I'm more at the higher level problem solving, right? But sometimes, every once in a while, when people bring, I call them like nuance problems, because someone will be like scratching their heads, and they'll be like, well, we use they call it CAE, computer aided engineering. We use it for FEA, which is finite elemental analysis. So when you have a 3D structure, and you have like loads placed upon it, right? Let's say, just in a simple, you got like a lever arm, right? And let's say this is attached to the wall, right? And you got a mass here, it'll bend, it bends. There's actually an equation for that, not just for the deflection, but for the stress and strain of the part, right? Because that'll help you determine what materials to select. But a lot of people, it's like I call it I don't want to say the cookie cutter, but the recipe, right? They know how to make chicken soup, right? But only one version of the chicken soup, right? They never think about like, oh, well, I could put a little less salt and a little bit more oregano, or they don't think any of that. They just go, okay, it has to be this way, oh, well, it's 9.98, so, we got to add. And I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? You're 9.98, you're 10, dude. Oh, no, it's not 10. Like, dude, you can't measure it. Like, you can't... That's a whole other thing. I call it perspective, right? But let's get back to the nuance thing. It's getting a little longer. Sorry. Maybe we'll finish this one thought. And sorry, Homefront, if you listen to the whole thing. Maybe you like it. Maybe you... But this is me. This is me. This is what you get. This is what you get. I cannot... Again... It's kind of like, I call it invigorating. it's part of what I call life, or at least what I choose to believe that. But but again, a lot of people get hung up. They just get hung up in the in the recipe. They don't know how to cook it, or they don't know how to modify and add, right? And it's like, oh, well, it doesn't quite taste right. And, I did use the formula. And I'm like, well, depending on what flavor you were looking for, right? You could, look into this one little part. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, that's not constant. I'm like, it doesn't mean that it's constant. Like, that's a whole nother thing. And I guess that's why I nuanced, like when I said earlier, how my teachers helped, told us how to derive these equations. Because you understand that some of these equations, there's actually variables that are not there. They're zeroed out. But it just means, right, scale, order of magnitude or scale, right? Right? Because you could zero something out as a reference, right? Okay, well, right? That's why, like, you're on the ground, so we consider that, like, that's our reference plane, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean reference plane all, some other damn force, right? That's like 1 billion miles away. Yeah, it's acting upon us, but it's near zero, right? And those are the things that people like totally overlook, and it's kind of, I don't want to say scary, but and again, but they have skills that I don't have. They have what I call the paper pushing. I could do it, and I was actually pretty good at it. I just hated it. Hated it. Like, we spend more time discussing about something than actually doing something. That's why, again, I love being in the advanced area, because I have a design, and tomorrow I might have to throw it away and start all over. It's frustrating, but it's different. Now, lately, it's all been like, hey, there's no room. There's negative room, and we gotta put more shit in it. It's like, dude, right? You got a 10-gallon drum, and you gotta fit 20 in it, and oh, by the way, we're gonna use a 5-gallon drum now. That's what's going on now. It's just like, but it's gone a long way. A lot of people haven't noticed that ability. But I tend to be more independent. Like, I don't want people interfering with me, and I normally don't interfere with other people, right? So for me, it's a two-way street, right? But because I am this way, and it's more like, it's almost like they see me, like they see the artist, right? But because the artist can't communicate everything about everything that he does, it's like people get a little, right? So I'm not the DEI type of person at work, so I'm always, management's never gonna put me up, right? Even though everyone wants me to be their manager, but again, it's one of those, hey, life. Some of the best leaders that we have will never be leaders because they are never allowed to be. And some of our best people that they don't want to be a leader. They're reluctant leaders. Those are some of our best leaders, and they're all around you, I think. So yeah, long. I didn't even quite get into it. But that's just tippy tip of the iceberg of what you get when it comes to Frank's problem-solving skills, because it all stemmed from being a child and not being told what to do and being basically unsupervised. And it's still with me today. My motto, it's been my motto, and it'll always be my motto, and I actually say it at work all the time. Ask for forgiveness, not permission, right? And hey, I tell people, I'm like, hey man, You want to fire me? Go ahead. I said, this doesn't mean if I see a problem, I'm tackling it head on, man. Get that damn bull by the horns, and I'm gonna smash it to the ground, right? Like, I love people like that, man. I love people. They just go attack, right? It's so rare in my life when I see that. And when I do, I join in, man. I'm like, hey, man, he's taking that big-ass bull down, man. He's got it down on one leg, man. I need to come in there and help, right? You know, that's me, right? But yeah, it's, you know, like, that sounds very, you know, aren't you worried about your job? I'm like, no! I'm like, this is my job. I mean, that's a whole nother thing. I have, like, philosophical questions, and I tell people at work, it actually pisses me off, and I actually probably do rub people the wrong way when I do. Because I actually think as engineers, we actually need to be at a higher calling. That's me. You know, I always say, hey, man, people's lives are at stake. That's how engineering was. And I think I've said it before on this channel. Like back in the day when you were a civil engineer, and let's say you were building a bridge. Guess who was the first person to test it? Haha. The engineer that came up with it. Wouldn't the world be slightly better? You know, again, I don't know if you could do that nowadays because of many things. But like right now, this isn't shocking by any means, right? What do they call it? Where you gotta replace your shit. Planned obsolescence. It's not just planned obsolescence. It's actually now sort of morphing something worse. It's more like, we only, if we say it's only going to work for 30 days, or we'll guarantee that it works for 30 days, just make sure it works to the day 31. That's not an NDA thing. It's actually a design philosophy, sadly enough as it is. And it's permutating pretty much everything around us, our lives. To the building code, to the material, to the reliability of your car, reliability of your refrigerators, your washers, your dryers, right? It's not that things were better back then. Maybe. They were just over-designed. They were over-designed, but by today's standards, it's significantly over-designed, right? Again, it's funny. I think we've had some cycles of this previously, but I always said, hey, why don't your sales proposition be, hey, you buy my product, right? As much as I want you to keep buying phones, right? But if I want to take over a market, right? And let's say there's a whole bunch of people with phones, they're making phones, all right? But let's say the phones don't last more than 3 years, right? And everyone's like, right? And yeah, all right. So maybe they start getting slower but wouldn't it be better if you can make a phone last, instead of 3 years, 10 years, so that when you purchased it, and maybe it was a little bit more, right? Like, hey, my phone's 10% more, but I guarantee you my phone will last twice as long, right? So 6 years. And then, after 6 years, people are like, hey, it's still working. It's still working. Year 9, it's still working. It's still, you get the next generation person, right? Because now they grew up with it, right? Oh my gosh, my mom had this. But that's why certain brands were brands. That's why, like, you bought certain items, right, from the past. It's so frustrating. It's funny how my topic of problem solving got to this point. But yeah, that's always been my philosophy. But again, people don't have money. Everyone's trying to cheapen everything. Now it's almost expected that things don't last long, and I don't know. You know, we're gonna have to have something change significantly. But yeah, sorry, home front, if you're still watching. 45 minutes. Oh my God, crazy. I thought this was gonna be 30 minutes. Anyway, guys, let's find that stop button. And Frank is just rambling on. But thanks for the topic. If you're still watching, home front. Let's get into it in another video. But yeah, today that's anyway. If you're still watching, thank you, sir. Ben, anyone else, I appreciate it. Okay. Thanks so much. All right, see ya. Bye.